أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ضرب الله مثلا رجلا فيه شركاء متشاكسون ورجلا سلما لرجل هل يستويان مثلا الحمد لله بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بعدد ما أحاط به علمك، وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، سيما بقية الله في العالمين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. We're living in a world that there are numerous forces that they want to take us and push us toward their ideology, the way of their life and their lifestyle. And when we wake up, these voices, these channels, advertisements, these different forces, they use massive advanced technology to persuade us, right? To take us and push us toward the way they think, the way their ideology is. And sometimes it is even difficult to really have freedom. Sometimes we may think that we choose, but in reality, the other forces manipulate us to choose towards certain options, for example. And that is basically today, it is part of the nature of this era. Is that we as a believers, it is hard and difficult to follow the path of righteousness. It is way more difficult than, for example, in the time of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Way more difficult to follow, or even sometimes to find the truth. What is the truth? When you compare it to the time of different imams that we had. The reason that living under occultation, living it in a righteous way, living it with faith and a strong belief, has more reward in the eye of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is because of this. It's difficult, right? We don't have the imam available. The time that we're living, it's so complex, the era of manipulation, really, if we think about it. And our children are growing in this society. But when we go back to Quran, as the narration stated, that when it's actually about our time, our era. It says that when fitan, when trials hits your life so much so that you cannot manage it, they ask us and they advise us to go back to Quran. Alaykum bil Quran. Go back to Quran. If you're confused, if you're wondering what is the true path, what is the path in which I can reach salvation, in which I can seek proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, go to Quran. Because Quran is clear. When you read Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't leave you wondering after you recite Quran. After you recite Quran, always there is something weighty in the recitation of Quran. It's like you feel increased. And one of the verses of Quran always catches my eyes. This verse is we have to write it down honestly, and to think about this example of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always bring example in order to teach us a fundamental belief, for example. And in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you to imagine two individuals. One individual believes in gods, right? ضرب الله مثلا رجلا فيه شركاء متشاكسون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you exemplify a rajul, a man, an individual in which believes gods, multiple gods, and then mutashakisun, and each one of those gods are calling him. Each one of those gods, these are very important here. Each one of these gods are calling him, expecting him certain things, because they are God, each one of them. And then on the other hand, وَرَجُلًا سَلَمًا, and then the other man, the other individual submitted to one God. He believes in one God, muwahid. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you a question. هَلْ يَسْتَوِيَانِ مَثَلًا? Is it equal? These two examples are equal to you? The way their life is, the way they manage their difficulties, the way they go through trials, through happiness, through success, through failure, both of them are equal, you think? هَلْ يَسْتَوِيَانِ مَثَلًا? Interesting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say yes. He leaves it to you. Because anyone with a right mind would understand and would believe that it's not equal. Because remember, the other day I was talking to one of my friends, and we were talking about the discussion, and then it came to this point, that everyone in this world is running. They're running after something. And either you're a believer or you're a Muslim, you run for something. Even if in the case of being a faithful Muslim, a faithful muwahhid, submitted to the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to look for this world, because that's part of this world. You cannot say that I leave this world and then I'm only seeking the hereafter, I leave this world. It doesn't make sense. This is not Islam. Numerous times they came to the Prophet, they said that we want to do something to ourselves, to our body, to our life, that makes us forget about the desires of this world. What the Prophet, the Imams told them, you cannot do it. That's not Islam. Islam is that you use these means, the same means that for many people it is a mean for them to get distracted from the hereafter. For a believer, can be a bridge to the hereafter. Can be a ranch, can be a farm for the hereafter, right? So everyone is running after something, after this world. Either you're a believer or a disbeliever. Imagine, I want to change this example a little bit, hypothetically. Imagine you're a believer and you have a classmate, he doesn't believe. in one God. You believe in one God, you submit it to the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Both of you have the same condition, both of you have the same social status, both of you have the same wealth, both of you have the same capacity and capability, right? And both of you have the same goal. You want to reach in the same goal, whatever your goal is. As part of the nature of this world, trials are going to be there, right? Ups and downs. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are or how intellectual you are, how intelligent you are. Trials are going to hit your life, no matter what. And both of you are running toward your goal, but there is a huge difference the way you go toward your goal and he goes toward his goal. In between, both of you face trials, but for you, trials are a mean to become mature. It's a mean for you to elevate yourself for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, toward Allah. It means improve, right? Elevating and seeking proximity, eventually it's your improvement in terms of characteristic and values that you follow and principles that you follow. And if you achieve your goals, you're going to have a level of satisfaction and peace always, even in between. But for the other guy who believes in multiple gods, that means that because his priorities are not to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his first priorities are not to satisfy Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as he's running toward his goal. He has to satisfy many people, many forces, right? And if a trial hits their life, there's no place to go. But you have a God that has the ultimate power, and you know that Allahu Akbar, He's the greatest. He's greater than your problem, than your goal, than your trial. So you have always Him to go. You get that energy, you get that peace, you get that tranquility. And remember, if you have a goal to buy a huge mansion, for example, how much you need time for yourself that you feel that this mansion is not as enjoyable as before, or as I thought, right? When you get a new car, for a few months you drive that car and you're enjoying it, and then after a few months it's like the same old car. And huge mansion, before you get that large mansion, you think that you have less space in your apartment or in your house, right? But as soon as you get that large mansion, after a few months, it's the same. It's the same. So in reality, all these goals that we're having in this material world, even if we achieve, it's not going to give us that level of satisfaction that we thought or we expected it. It's not going to. You see that this example, we can discuss about this example, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifully saying that if you believe in multiple gods and if you don't submit to the word and to one God, you have to respond to all those callers that call you, mutashakisun. They're going to come after you. One of the things that in the tragedy of Karbala always is interesting is the level of freedom of those people. The level of will and willpower that they had. As someone like Hur, he's a pretty astonishing example for all of us. Hur was attached to many forces. One of those people that the decision was so difficult for, it was Hur. Because he was assigned, he was an officer. He had, the like other people ahead of him that he had to take order from. He had wealth, he had position, he had people, he had parents, he had children, he had families. And he was actually the enemy of Imam. And then all of a sudden he can make that decision that I'm going to leave everything behind and this is my decision. It's a big deal. Think about it. Can we do it really? That decision? We're already in it. Like he's in it. He's in the system. He's part of the system. He's not a simple soldier. He's part of the system in which made Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam toward Karbala. That was the plan. That was his basically will and his goal. He had order. So how he can get this? How he can get this willpower? It's all about that faith that these people, these individuals had. They, at some point in their life, they practiced to be free from God. Even Zuhair. These people were not a good people before. Some of them were evil. And on the other side, you have people that they lost their part of their body in when they fought against Muawiyah. We have people that they used to know Prophet, they used to visit Imam al-Hussein. They knew the Imam, but they fought against the Imam. What had happened to them? The main problem of them was that they didn't practice muwahhid, following one God. I really decide to follow one God. And this can be another discussion in another majlis, but I just want to open this verse of Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Sibghat Allah, the color of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to color in this ayah. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ صِبْغَةً. What is better than the color of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? In another word, shape your life based on the belief of oneness of Allah. Having an Islamic lifestyle is not putting pictures, Ayatul Kursi on the wall. You can have no picture, just empty walls. But someone communicates with you, engage with you, talk to you, they can sense a level of spirituality in you. That means that you have a sense, you have a level of the color of Allah. I'm sure that you've met people that they are really good people, right? Righteous people, good believer. When you sit with them, you get that positive, today they call it energy. You get that positive. They're close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they're not like those super religious people that you barely can trust, and they abuse many our Islamic teachings, as Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam says, multiple narration, but one in Nahjul Balagha, they said that they're wearing the coat upside down, the other way around. It's like their Islam is limited to prayers, fasting, those sort of things, although those are very important. But the problem of Imam Hussein was that actually. The problem of Imam Hussein was that you have Islam, you have prayers, you have Quran, but there is no spirit in this. There is no sense of spirituality in your prayers, in your recitation of Quran, in your fasting. There is no color, Allah's color in your life. You follow, you're thinking you're following, but as you're following, you're actually distancing yourself from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As much as you pray more, sometimes it may even distance yourself. Same thing happened to Shaitan, for example. If Shaitan would worship less than he did, maybe he wouldn't be that arrogant. He would listen to Allah. You never know. Maybe those people that they fought against Imam al-Hussein, if they were like simple people, but they used to practice certain level of spirituality, they would be with Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Baqir says that they killed my grandfather, Hussein, while they're thinking that they were doing jihad. Jihad. We're doing jihad. We were killing Hussein in order to do jihad. How they went so far. They believe in this. Right? They believe in Islam. They believe in the obligation of jihad. But what had happened to them, and even today we see it in extremists. Have it, some they read Quran, they pray, they recite Quran, they fast more than you and I probably. Recitation of Quran, I don't know, but their action is far, far away from the action of the Prophet. And if the Prophet was here, definitely would be against the Prophet, no doubt. Using the same Quran and killing the same Prophet. They would do it. The reason is because fasting is easy. Praying is easy. What is hard, what is difficult is to step on the gods that I have. First thing is myself. Because for example, Khawarij, what was their problem? The problem was that the way we understand Islam is the correct one. And Ali is wrong. Right? So in reality, in their mind, their God was themselves, not Allah. They were not following Quran. They were not following Islam. They were following themselves. Because this is the way I interpret this book. And if you or Ma'soom is interpreting it differently, you're kafir. What does that mean? That means that I am the Quran. And if you talk to those people, they barely know Quran. They're nu'minu bi ba'd wa nakfur. And the same thing in another level can happen to us too. Sometimes we may be in a delusional state that makes us think certain way about Islam, and we're following that. That's why Amirul Mu'mineen, this is my last riwayah, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam, in one narration says that for a jahil, for an ignorant, it's a level of ignorance most of the people have. I have it. You know, we we don't have full knowledge about things unless we study it, or even when we study it, we don't get the full picture of the problem or the issue that we're studying it. And then Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salatu wasalam says that jahil or ignorant is like they follow whatever they think it's right. And because they don't know that they don't know, they're ignoring and rejecting those people that they know. They're saying that, "Oh, those are useless. I'm not going to go ask." Right? Because they don't ask, because they don't need to ask, they don't feel the need to ask, automatically they ignore the scholars. And today's we have this problem. And all the problems of humanity from the beginning was because the majority of people didn't listen to their scholars, to their thinkers, right? They followed politicians, those people that they had more money or power. Actually, most of the cases, scholars warn them about certain things, certain dangers that they may face in the future, but they never listen. They never listen to the prophets. They never listen to the imams. They never listen. And even they threatened, they killed the waliullah. Again, that's a very, very unfortunate about our history. And inshallah, we can work toward a society, an era in which does not repeat the same mistake that other nations did. It is our chance, inshallah, we can work on our children, raising our children in a way that they're going to understand the wisdoms of Quran, to build a characteristic that they can be leaders in their future, righteous leaders, because we need that, inshallah, with the present and hastening of the appearance of Imam al-Hujjah, inshallah ta'ala, inshallah. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا مظلوم. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا عطشان. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. These nights, days and moments are the moments of the trials of the Ahlul Bayt, the moments in which all the children and the women of Imam al-Hussein were captivated. They were beaten, they were carried toward the Sham and Kufa. But among them there is a 3-year-old daughter of al-Hussein, Ruqayya. There are numerous discussions, conversation between Ruqayya and her father. But among the most touching of them is the last discussion and conversation of Ruqayya with her father, Imam al-Husayn. When they were in Sham, Bibi Ruqayya missed her father. She started crying, calling her father. Oh father, I remember when my uncle Muslim ibn Aqil became martyred. When they visit you, when his children, his daughter visited you, you put them on your laps, you talk to them. Oh my father, now I lost you, I'm an orphan. Where are you to put my head on your lap like you did for Muslim ibn Aqil's daughter? They heard the cry of Ruqayya. They sent the head of Imam al-Husayn to Ruqayya. When they brought the head of Imam al-Husayn, she doesn't know she's a 3-year-old daughter. The first question that she had, Ma hadha ar-ra'as? What is this head? هذا رأس أبي. This is the head of your father. They said as soon as she heard this, she hugged the head of her father. She started cleaning his face. She started kissing the lips of her father, talking to her father. Man الذي أيتمني, who made me orphan, my father. She talked and talked and talked to the head of her father. Everyone around Ruqayya were crying. They said at some moment she stopped talking. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam went to her. He hugged her. Once he saw that she's not breathing, لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم بدم المظلوم 10 times. يا الله 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 يا حميد بحق محمد، يا علي بحق علي، يا فاطر بحق فاطمة، يا محسن بحق الحسن، يا قديم الإحسان بحق الحسين. صل على محمد.